How far will Joe Mixon fall this evening? Who will be bumping up Emeka Egbuka? And will the pros or the Joes be the one controlling tonight's draft? Follow along with the live draft board tonight with our pick-by-pick analysis as we call the action from the 2025 FFPC Pros versus Joes Iron Maiden Division number 4 to see who's going to win a 2026 FFPC Main Event squad. We've got a great show for you. Farrell Elliott is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
Can't stand the pressure. I've seen greater men than me to listen.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now watching the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. Welcome to the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Farrell Elliott. The High Stakes Fantasy Football for analysis from the best players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Farrell Elliott.
Solace in the scripture. Are we not all our father's sons? I became a man. Nobody ever told me what a man was.
Thank you, Rob. Greetings and salutations to all of you Balkaholics and Farelliacs. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com. I'm your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman. And of course, my co-host is the definitive commissioner of fantasy football, one Farrell Elliott. Tonight, we have the fourth of 6 special episodes of the HSFF Hour for you. It is the 2025 FFPC Pros versus Joes Iron Maiden Division 4 draft, and we'll be covering it live for its entire duration this evening. Shout out to the chat room right now. Post your questions that you might have with for us in there. You can connect with us. I'm at Eric Balkman on X. The show is at HSFF Hour, and check out the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship, something that Farrell Elliott runs very well at KFFSC.com. Facebook.com/HSFF Hour is where to go as well. There you can email the inbox at our Gmail account, highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. We'll try to answer all the chat room questions, X posts and Facebook posts throughout the evening tonight. As a reminder, we could not do this without the producer and mutual friend Rob, the hard work of our producer and mutual friend Rob, and of course our audio engineer, my best friend Bryce. Today is the deadline day for the FFPC Main Event early draft slots. If you want your draft slot by August 3rd, no matter if you're drafting in late August or early September or whatever, if you want it like a month plus ahead of time, square those balances away. Register now, myffpc.com. You have until midnight tonight, Pacific time, to get that done. Don't forget, you're going to get $600 off each additional team you register as well at myffpc.com. Let's get into our drafters tonight, ladies and gentlemen. The Joes are kicking things off here tonight. Brian Lindo and Jeff Kuzmano at the 1 spot. I'll just bring up the draft board here so everybody can see it, and I'm not, you guys know what I'm talking about here. Jeff Kuzmano and Brian Lindo ended up taking Jamar Chase, number 1. Sigmund Bloom from Footballguys. No surprise, he goes at the elite tight end early. Brock Bowers at the 102. Albert and Kyle Leach draft Bijan Robinson at the 103. Jahmyr Gibbs goes to Estadio Fantasies. Mauricio Gutierrez at the 4 spot. CeeDee Lamb right after that to Frying Pan Inc., of course. Brad Petrie and Darren Larson, the KFFSC cohorts turned FFPC dominators. They end up going with Lamb there. McCaffrey off the board to 1. Josh Hayes at the 106 from RotoBaller. Saquon Barkley to Dennis and Stephen Jones right after that. Dan Williamson and Bradley Stalder, who host the Stack Hunters show on Player Profiler. They had the next pick, and on the Player Profiler Network, they had the next pick, and then they go with Justin Jefferson there. Trey McBride is the pick to Billy Van Ormer after that, the FFPC Joe. From Established Run, Michael Leone ends up going with Malik Neighbors at the 110, Ashton Genty off the board at the 111 to Vince Staffolino. Justin Boone from Yahoo Fantasy takes Puka Nacua to end the first round. Without further ado, let me bring on my guest co-host for the night. Not even a guest co-host, the guy who normally co-hosts the show with me. He is the incomparable Farrell Elliott. Farrell, welcome aboard, my friend.
How you doing, man? I tell you what, it's just you and me tonight. No Terp, huh?
Terp may or may not be joining us tomorrow. He will for sure be on Tuesday.
He likes playing into that fact of the intro because no one else is available. Yeah, that's what's going on there. I miss the Terp. Bulky, but as soon as I start missing Terp, I realize I'm with the number one broadcast professional of fantasy football in the entire United States.
Well, you'll have to introduce him to me sometime.
Yeah, just look in the mirror.
You're hilarious.
Plays in Kentucky.
Farrell, I want to get to our first guest tonight right off the bat. You know him, you love him, you follow him on the X at Josh Hayes FX. This is a guy who's been with RotoBaller for a long time, a guy I've talked with, done shows with in the past too. Here with the FFPC YouTube channel. You hear him on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio weekdays from 6 until 7 a.m. Eastern Time. Of course, the incomparable Josh Hayes joining us, who is drafting tonight. Josh is drafting from the 6th spot. Josh, good evening and welcome. How you doing, man? How you been?
Bulky, long time no talk. Farrell, great to talk again. Hope all is well, my friend.
Better days with Hayes. It always is.
It is.
Right.
And so we have to talk about your first pick right off the top, Josh, because you had the opportunity to catch Saquon Barkley falling tonight. You end up going with McCaffrey above him. And I think that there's an argument one way or the other here. I'll let you make the McCaffrey argument why you thought he'd be a better pick in this format than Barkley.
Great. First of all, I want to shake my fist at Dennis Jones, who just took George Kittle. I was literally going to take George Kittle in the second round and just go with a Niner stack right off the bat. I don't know if this is really a thing, but Saquon Barkley owes me for going out early on in the season last year, coming off the injury. But in all seriousness, has been healthy for a while. Has looked pretty good in training camp so far. Niners by far and away, in my opinion, and I think this is backed up by NFL.com, sharp football analysis. Niners have the easiest schedule in football coming into 2025. There's a lot of cupcakes out there, and it feels like with all the uncertainty with the wide receivers, they need Christian McCaffrey more involved than ever this year with Brandon Ayuk. Looks like he's probably going to get a 4-game, opportunity to sit this season on the PUP list. You have Ricky Pierce all banged up. You have Jawan Jennings, who wants a new contract, who's a little bit nicked up as well. George Kittle played a good portion of that season injured last year as well. So it feels like if there was ever a time for them to lean heavy in the run game and to be ahead in a lot of games, thanks to the strength of schedule, maybe this is the year that we get the Christian McCaffrey bounce back.
The McCaffrey bounce back, I think, is reason enough to say, obviously, we're going to take him here in the mid-first round because he could still pay off that in spades. But let's present the Barkley side of it. The usage clearly the backs that have had the touch level or the touch amounts that he had the year before, classically have fallen the next year. Whether that's because they were out of their gourd the previous year, whether it's because it's just natural regression. Whatever. At what point would you start taking Barkley in the first round, Josh?
I would have been comfortable with Barkley right at 6 also. I honestly, if I wasn't going to take Christian McCaffrey, thinking that he's set up for full-on monster season with the amount of volume he's in line for, I probably would have leaned Trey McBride or Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers obviously not available since he went 2, but the tight end premium, I think it's important. And watching the Cardinals do next to nothing to improve the offense. They basically stood pat, didn't even get another, free agent wide receiver or anything else like that. It's essentially the same offense as last year rolling back here for 2025. So it feels like Trey McBride would have been a big time opportunity. I also like a lot of running backs too, like Derrick Henry coming off a monster season last year and he goes mid-second round. It's almost criminal to have like an MVP type season and to see these guys fall in the second round. And then also add to the fact too that there's a lot of rookie running backs that have come into the draft that a lot of people like. So I wouldn't really feel pressure to take Saquon Barkley there, knowing that you have some good opportunities with the tight end premium. And, CeeDee Lamb was been another guy I definitely would have gave strong consideration to if he fell to me at 6.
So you go with McCaffrey in the first, McConkey in the second. My big concern with McConkey this year is something that's not really his fault. And I shouldn't say it's my big concern with it, Josh, but I think about McConkey and how he ended last season and how I'm privy to recency bias as much as the next guy. And I think about how much he was dominating towards the end of the regular season, then obviously the postseason as well. And you have Greg Roman there, you have Jim Harbaugh, and a massively upgraded running back room with Najee Harris and Omarion Hampton there. The first thing I think of when I see McConkey is like, oh, there's going to be some regression here because there's no way he can keep doing that again. But clearly you believe that McConkey soaking a 207 pick into him this year in this format. You're still a big believer in McConkey having a massive season.
Yeah, it was a coin flip between A.J. Brown and Ladd McConkey, in my opinion. And, I'm so impressed with what the Eagles did in their offseason. I think it's a very good chance, too. They may be sitting on a lot of leads again this year. Whereas I think the Chargers, they really have to fight tooth and nail. Everybody in their division got better this season. And so, I feel like they're just going to be a team that's going to have to score a lot of points. And now knowing that maybe they have a little bit more stability to sustain drives with a better running game with Omari and Hampton, back that up with Najee Harris if he ever finishes his audition with Pirates of the Caribbean. We'll figure out what happens there. But Trey Harris and the rookies that they've added in their wide receiver room, so they don't have to watch Quentin Johnson waste drops that cost them drives left and right. I think it's a great opportunity. I think the offense is going to be better this year, and hopefully that's a good thing for Ladd McConkey.
The real gift that you gave me tonight was your McCaffrey breakdown. I really like your thought process there. And there's no way I would have drafted him in front of Barkley, but I really like why you did. And then your second round pick, I know there's two guys in Illinois tonight smiling with Petri and Larson when they now start with
They get Henry.
There's no way they thought they would get Henry. So we'll see how it plays out. Hey,
Well,
you made another pick.
Yeah, well, speaking of Henry, Farrell, Lamar Jackson now joining the Josh Hayes All-Star team here. As McCaffrey and McConkey are the first two picks. You just take Lamar Jackson here in the third round. The first quarterback off the board. How close is it for you, Josh, when it comes to Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels? How close is it for the QB1 this year? For you, clearly it's Jackson, but is that a tight race? Is that a small tier for you?
They were neck and neck for MVP. So obviously you got to give a lot of respect to Josh Allen and that team. I think what it comes down to me is the division that they're going to play 8 games in, all season long. The AFC East to me is still significantly weaker than the NFC North. The NFC North has 3 really solid teams. And then maybe Lamar Jackson just goes crazy against Cleveland and has some big games. But there are no cupcakes. So I think there's going to be shootouts left and right with the Bengals. And, if you watch how everybody in that division, you wouldn't be surprised if any one of them, all 3 teams made the playoffs, if one of them had one of the best records in the AFC between, Baltimore and Cincinnati, especially the season that Joe Burrow came off of. So I think that Lamar Jackson, he rolls right into another strong offense. I actually love what they've done in terms of strengthening the defense and offensive line. It feels like they're going to be a dominant team. And I just wanted to, since we're only going to really start one QB in the best ball slim, you can either take the shot where you're going to, wait. I've done that in a lot of leagues where you wait until round 10, 12 and grab 2 or 3 of them. I think I'm just going to end up with 3 quarterbacks, and I want the top one. I want a mid-tier one. Then I want a flyer.
So even though you take Lamar Jackson here in the third, you still plan on drafting a third quarterback, Josh?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in best ball, where you can't control your roster and I have to just sit here and stare at the same lineup I drafted the entire rest of the year, I kind of think I need that Allstate insurance,
And one of these years, Lamar is going to enter that tent and he's going to linger a little bit.
Yeah.
I would imagine that is coming down the pike. The last thing, Josh, I'll bring up with you. When you talk about this best ball slim format, you already mentioned it. You start one quarterback, 20 rounds. How important is it for you to get an elite quarterback in this format? Again, no kickers, no defenses. So the lineups are a little bit smaller. Is it crucial for you? I'd have to go back and look how you've done in this contest before and how you've handled the quarterback. But is it crucial to try to get one of these upper echelon elite quarterbacks?
I think since we're going to go 20 rounds, it's harder for you because I think, honestly speaking, a weight at quarterback strategy where you stream 2 QBs and play that game is better suited for a waiver wire that's active. You know what I mean? Because if somebody gets injured or doesn't work out or you need to make a trade or something else, you still have opportunities to fix your team. Mm-hmm. You can't fix this once you draft it. So Lamar Jackson is as consistent, as steady as it's been. He hasn't had an injury issue for, I think, 2 straight seasons now. And this is their Super Bowl run. You know what I mean? This is the best team that they've ever had on offense and defense, in my opinion, there. So if he was ever going to get revenge for not getting MVP, I think this could be the year.
RotoBaller.com. Check out Josh's work there. Of course, listen to him tomorrow morning from 6 until 7 a.m. Eastern Time. RotoBaller Fantasy Sports Radio on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. It is him. It is Real Talk Ref. It is a great show. Make sure you're tuning in for that. Anything else that I should mention, Josh, before we let you go that you want to know? That obviously Josh Hayes FS on X as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And if you have any beard grooming tips, send them my way because I'm inspired. You know what I mean? What happened here for yeah.
Oil is always good, man. The more oil, the better. Because I always feel like it's a lot more manageable. I can do more stuff with it. That's what I'll leave you with, and I'll let you enjoy the rest of your draft tonight. Josh Hayes, thanks for hopping aboard, man. Appreciate it.
Farrell, Eric, always a good pleasure. Appreciate it.
You got it. Josh Hayes from RotoBaller, ladies and gentlemen, hopping aboard, drafting from the 6th spot tonight. He's coming up on his 4th round pick here. Farrell, I don't know in all the years we've been doing this if I've asked you if you were in this. How would you handle quarterback? Would you try to get one of these elite guys early, or are you comfortable building up with 2 or 3 guys in the mid rounds instead?
It would depend who else is on the board, but I like his decision. You know, if you move Barkley over here and you move Henry over there and you move Jackson, then you can hammer these wide receivers. That's the team I would have put together with given the opportunity he had here. But, you know, he makes a good plan for what he's got going on. I think with some of the quarterbacks that I really, really like, Balky, I could make do with waiting on quarterback, but Josh broke it down pretty well. He likes to have a star. He likes to have a guy that's going to finish somewhere in the middle, but giving spike games, and then he'll take a third quarterback that has some upside. But you know, we can get middle round quarterbacks that are going to put up some very significant numbers this year. They probably won't be Lamar Jackson numbers, but so I tend to think that his plan at quarterback is the plan that I would put to work in here. What about you?
Well, I'm glad you teed me up for this because I do have some thoughts. I was in a KFFSC best ball draft. I still am in several. But I made a pick in one that launched last week, I think it was last week. And Josh Allen was staring me in the face in the 3rd round. Or maybe it was the 4th round. I can't remember. But I'm like, God, I never take quarterbacks early. Let's have some fun. This is supposed to be fun. Let's take a quarterback early here and see how this draft turns out. So I did it. And I've kind of had buyer's remorse since I've done it. And the reason why, for me, and I hear more and more people talk about this, in managed leagues, I think it's important to have somewhat of an elite quarterback, or it's an important thing to have a quarterback that you believe is going to be elite, that maybe you're drafting outside the top 8. In best ball, it's a little bit different because in best ball, to borrow a quote from Moneyball, you can recreate the elite quarterback in the aggregate. So in other words, you don't have to draft Lamar Jackson. You don't have to draft Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels. You can grab Love and Purdy or J.J. McCarthy and Jared Goff, and maybe like Josh was saying, one more flyer too. And then in best ball, where you're just taking the best possible performance out of 3 guys every week, sometimes I think that's just as good as having the elite guy. Now, you may not have the 40-plus point weeks that Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen give you every now and then, but I think in best ball, I would lean against it. Managed leagues, yeah, I think it's important to have an elite quarterback. But for something like this, I think I'm kind of going back to my roots and building up quarterbacks by quantity over quality.
Strength of schedule is probably one of the most overanalyzed and over talked about. Josh's commentary about cupcakes, he better hold back on that a little bit. But nevertheless, if you take a look at Goff, here's the most intriguing player to me because when he plays at home, he is a different kind of fantasy quarterback. And so if you can match those schedules at the home versus away with your other quarterbacks that you could get early, and I haven't looked at it, but if you can, there's maybe an inside track to get more out of Goff and one other quarterback than you thought you could, and perhaps challenge if you don't get one of the top 5 guys.
I think that's important to understand when you're going into your draft, right? Like Draft Sharks, I think for years, I think they still do it. I could be wrong, but they would have a whole piece that they would write up every year about, like, if you're looking to pair quarterbacks that are going outside the top of the top 10, here are the two guys that match up, or this pair works well together, this pair works well together. So that's always something that you'd be paying attention to in this scenario.
Balky, look at Team 5, because that's my boys, Petra and Larson, and I'm not playing any favorites because we've got a Kentucky flavor in this throughout with Billy Van Wormer and a couple of the guys that are in here. But I'll tell you this, you might say that this is an old school lineup, but damn, that school is Harvard. Look at this. They are putting together one heck of a team.
One of the players, and they take Alvin Kamara here at the 505. He's one of the players that I wish I had more of this year, Farrell. I was just reading somebody talking about Kamara today. Like, yeah, the offense it's one big question mark. I mean, they don't – do they have a quarterback? I don't know. They have several quarterbacks, which means they probably don't have one quarterback.
They got Tyler
Shook. Okay, we'll see. And I know he's a Louisville guy, and I don't want to besmirch any of my Kentucky friends, but I want to see it on the field. Now, I did have drafted Shook in a couple of best balls for what it's worth. But the situation, I think, is on par or maybe a little bit better with the returns of Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed this year. I think that offense could be better. It couldn't get much worse than it was last year, Farrell. And Kamara was really, really good. And he is still going in the 5th round. Yeah, I know he's an older running back here. But you look at what Petra and Larson have done here. They have cobbled together all these old guys, right? All these, you know, we always say this, that only one person is winning anything in this, and that's the 2026 main event. Farrell has made sure that the runner-up will get a pair of socks.
Yes,
you do have that. But that's still just the top two teams, right? And so what do you do when you're playing for first place and nothing else? You go for the young upside guys, the high volume guys, the mystery box guys we don't know. Well, maybe there's some value in trying to win this whole thing by taking the guys that, youth isn't on their side, but experience and performance is. Mike Evans, Tyreek Hill, Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry. I don't think I'd put CeeDee Lamb in that group yet, but those 4 guys there, I mean, there is value in putting all of them together. Now, I'm sure they're going to spice in a couple of rookies here as it goes through, but I think as far as a core goes, and you look at the consistency of these players, especially when you consider Evans coming off a quasi-down year where he missed some time, Tyreek Hill definitely coming off a down year. I mean, you're buying up value there, too, with just natural positive regression here. So I like what Petra and Larson here are doing. We'll see if it continues throughout the 6th round and beyond. But, yeah, I think you can make a strong case that what they're doing is something we don't normally see, but it could definitely work.
It definitely could. And I So we talked a lot about them, and let me tell you, they got 15 more rounds, and they're gonna get a mix of younger players and complementary players in here. But yeah, I like where it's going. It appears that so does the chat room.
The chat room, definitely. Joe King saying Team 5 drives a Buick because of all the veterans that they have.
I think they do.
Yeah, they might. I want to bring up what Tom Smith, our buddy Tom Smith, said about Vince Staffolino's squad, the FFPC Joe, drafting from the 11 hole tonight. He ends up going with Genty in the 1st round. He comes back with St. Brown after Justin Boone goes Nakua and Achane. So he gets Genty and St. Brown, then Smith and Jigba, Laporta, Waddle, and then Judy. So he's got a really deep wide receiver core, 6 rounds in. You're looking at all those guys being number 1 receivers with the exception of Jalen Waddle. And obviously, Laporta is going to factor in heavily to what the Lions are going to do this year. But yeah, Vince, this is a really good team, and I think if he pounds the running backs in the middle, that this is another way to win it too. You're talking about veterans from Frying Pan, and you're talking about a heavy receiver core from Staffolino. 2 different ways, and by the way, both these teams. Then all these players, all 3 of those guys, very successful, high-stakes players.
You got to really love Jerry Jeudy at this spot. If Vince calls in, we will have him state the affirmative of his romance with Jeudy because he's going to see a lot of green go off the board. I would just fear taking my 4th receiver. And, Balky, I don't like to live in fear. But I would just be very, very hesitant to take my 4th receiver when I don't think I'm going to get a score out of him, and I'm watching all these green stickers. there's 4 of them, and we've still got to get back all the way through the 7th round. So that troubles me a little, but we'll see what Vince can pull.
The other thing too, when you're talking about his start with skipping running backs here in the 6th round, he takes Judy. I mean, there's an argument that Travion Henderson may not be capital letters Travion Henderson because of Ramondre Stevenson's presence. Obviously, I think we've spent enough time on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, the last several months talking about the misgivings we have, the caution that we're exercising when drafting DeAndre Swift. Obviously, Aaron Jones is a guy that we like, but then they went out and they traded draft capital to get Jordan Mason, and they ended up giving him a new contract as well. RJ Harvey was a guy that was sky high a couple months ago. Then J.K. Dobbins signed, and there's a lot of people down on Harvey. So there is something to be said about Staffolino saying, I don't like any of those running backs, and I like getting this number 1 receiver in Jerry Jeudy on Cleveland, and that's why he went the way he did. Now, we can't get into their minds, but I could definitely see that case being presented to Vince, and he's like, the heck with it. I'm going to take a guy I want here.
Well, if he's going to go to the dance, he's going to have to maybe dance with somebody other than the homecoming queen, because, but some of these guys, if you don't like these guys, wait till you see what's coming in the 7th and 8th round, Vince.
Right.
God bless you.
We
will start talking about that kid named Blue down in Dallas.
I've been getting him a lot in the Kentucky rookie dynasty drafts, and I don't know if it's just because everybody's down with the report on him being lazy or whatever. But man, I'm on board with him for the price now. I think there's something to be said for that. Okay, 3 straight tight ends here go in the 6th round. We're almost to closing it out. 6-12 is where we're at right now with Lindo and Kuzmano, the FFPC Joe's drafting from the 1 spot. And Njoku to Mauricio Gutierrez, Evan Engram to the Leeches, and then Tucker Kraft to Sigmund Bloom. So now we've had 2 teams, Dennis and Stephen Jones and Sigmund Bloom, double up with tight ends here. Bowers and Kraft for Bloom, Kittle and Kelsey for the Joneses, as Bloom tries to keep up with the Joneses with 2 tight ends of his own. This is where I always think it's interesting, Farrell, when we have 2 teams have 2 tight ends on their squad through round 6, then I think it starts to affect other people where they're like, I might have to pivot off my draft plan a little bit just to make sure I don't get shut out here, and I'm still getting a guy who is going to be drafted as a top 12 guy, or a guy I think is going to finish in the top 12.
Good, smart move, buddy. Good, smart move. But, boy, you know what? When these tight ends start going, they start going, don't they?
Yes, they do. By the way, Tom says he was in a big gorilla earlier today with FPI, with Larson, Petri and Larson. How about that? And then
the guys are out there getting warmed up, buddy. They're playing in that gorilla. They intend to win. They've got big plans.
Sean Green points out that the Frying Pan Inc. guys have now added a player under the age of 30 in RJ Harvey, the rookie running back, going with they now have old RJ Harvey and new Alvin Kamara, right?
Yeah. Tell Greeny that RJ Harvey's never even seen a Buick. He
doesn't know what a Buick is. No idea. Don't ask him what a payphone is. Yeah. I have an intern at my radio station. He's on my show in the afternoons. Farrell, he's 19 years old. He had no idea what a safety deposit box was. Never heard of it. I couldn't believe it. I didn't know that was an age thing. It's just, how do you not even hear of that?
It should be in an anime thing. You put the stuff in anime, you could teach.
And then everybody knows. Yeah, exactly. I want to get back to the Kraft pick at 6'11". This is a player that I think I'm just starting to warm up to by osmosis. Everybody else is telling me that this guy could be the Packers' number 1 receiver. Some people are saying he's a dark horse to finish among the top 5 in tight ends this year. I think that's a little aggressive, but certainly I allow for the possibility of that happening. I don't know, man. They've been using him in training camp. He's been targeted a lot. Jordan Love has said that they want to get the ball to him more. Maybe I am underrating Tucker Kraft. Maybe this is a player that I should be looking at harder when I'm drafting as a back end starter or a top backup. Tight end 11 at the 809 in the FFPC Best Ball Tournament right now. Is his ADP according to Fantasy Mojo, fantasymojo.com. Darren Armani, who's the webmaster, he puts this Pros versus Joes challenge together. Every time we cite ADP, it's from fantasymojo.com. You should get a subscription to that website if you're playing in the FFPC. So I'm starting, long story short, I'm warming up to Tucker Kraft now, and I probably need more Tucker Kraft in my life.
Okay, and who picked Mark Andrews in the first round? Who's our pro?
That was Brian Lindo and Jeff Kuzmano, the FFPC Joes, took a stop.
Congratulations, guys. And that's where we go back to our John Hayes. That would have been a perfect stack. He could have waited on a running back and put Andrews in that slot. Andrews, Njoku drafted in front of Andrews. There's 25 to 30 catches more for Andrews right there. Ingram could be about the same in catches, but Andrews will tear up the end zone compared to what Ingram will do. And Andrews will catch 25, maybe 30 more balls than Kraft.
I don't know. I mean,
yeah.
I'm still. You can obviously see I'm still making up my mind on this. Like I haven't decided how I feel about this.
And then what does he have to pay for likely to handcuff the position?
You're not going to handcuff him.
What do you have to pay for likely?
Well, I mean, it wouldn't even be worth it. Like, okay, so it would
depend on what you have to pay.
All right, if you want to know the price tag, Farrell, I'm going to strongly urge you against this model. Pick up a Buick instead of Isaiah.
Armani will tell us he's got the numbers. He's actually the guy that runs this event. We're just visiting.
Tight end 18, 1108.
No, that's a little too much. You're right.
Yeah, and like I think it limits your upside, right? I mean, if you're trying to win the whole thing, you want to get Andrews and then another tight end who's going to finish in the top 10 or top 5.
This is a true thing. This is a true thing.
I don't know. Like certainly maybe we'll see somebody do it. I just don't know if it's very likely here.
I see what you did there, Balky. That's why you're such a professional.
Yeah.
And people you're so good and smooth. People want to know what you put in your beard, man.
Yeah, okay, so we have a guest coming on. He's about to be on the clock. What I want to do is I want to get by his next 2 picks, and then we'll bring him on because I want to get his thoughts on how his draft is going so far. Billy Van Ormer from the 9 spot, FFPC Joe, one of our favorites. He's got McBride and Hampton, and then a bunch of other receivers here, Farrell. Brian Thomas, Jamison Williams, George Pickens, Calvin Ridley, and Ricky Pearsall. Plenty of those guys. I don't think there's any one of those players that I am not on this year. I like all those players, and he's cobbling together a really strong receiver core here. What do you make of the start from BVO?
He's just spent so much time in Kentucky. That's all he can do now is draft wide receivers. But yeah, okay. Again, let's start seeing who some of these ugly running backs are that are going to fill out these teams. But Billy Van Ormer, yeah, he wants to win this thing, so he's coming in a little different. And Hampton, less of a question mark now, perhaps in his amount of play than we had earlier in the year. So, okay, good. And I think Hampton was a bargain for him at this draft spot. Yes or no, Balky?
I'm going to look it up right now. I think compared to the other Pros versus Joes, it is a bargain. Yeah. Running back 13 at the 307 is where he's going in the FFPC.
All right. Well, he's right on schedule.
Very on schedule, yeah. What do you make of because this guy's picking up steam now? George Pickens as the number 2 receiver in Dallas, a team that should be throwing a lot this year. Feel like I was not drafting him early on because I didn't see much upside in Pittsburgh, and now I wish I had more of him. But his price tag's gone up. I mean, we see him go tonight at the 509 as a top 30 receiver. Farrell, are you in on Pickens this year?
I am, even at this price. I think Pickens is a tremendous player that needed a change of scenery. He's got it. He's paired in a perfect situation with a veteran quarterback. The Lamb can't do it all and can't get it all. The tight end is good, but he's not particularly prolific in this offense. And yes, so I very much like this, and it'll be a different Pickens that we see this year. And I think it's hard to find anyone that doesn't like Pickens, and that's why he's headed up the board. Hey, there's going to be a running back here.
You think so? With Van Ormer is going to take
Van Ormer is going to pick a running back.
He's
green
got
stickers coming.
This is through 7 rounds. We have 5 receivers on this squad, a tight end and a running back. We already have, I'm looking at it right now, 27 running backs off the board, and Van Ormer only has 1. We shall see if he's going to draft one here The longtime FFPC and Kentucky player takes Brian Robinson from the Commanders. So you are right on that, Farrell. I want to bring our next guest on. This is a player that I've had on, I don't know, countless shows, and I'll let everybody behind the curtain here a little bit. This guy was the only guy to do back-to-back podcasts with me. And you say, oh, he was on back-to-back shows or whatever, like, week to week. No, I screwed up my recording, and it didn't record. So I called him. I said, hey, can we just do the same show we did all over again? And thankfully it was only like 35 or 40 minutes, but he was a baller and he handled it, and he's on with us right now. He was the latest guest on the Road of his High Stakes Lowdown this month, and longtime FFPC Kentucky player. So many wins, I don't even know how many to count anymore. He is on X at VC_staff. He is the incomparable Vince Staffolino. Vince, welcome aboard tonight, man.
Look at
Hey, Eric. Hey, Farrell. How are you guys?
Hey, buddy.
Doing good, man. Doing good. The real question is how are you doing in the 11th spot tonight, as we are basically a third of the way through your draft?
Really like the wide receiver depth I've developed there, and I like my Lion stack with Amon-Ra and Laporta, and running it back with Addison. Week 17, final game in Minnesota. So that's the game I want to stack for sure.
I like that. Even if they move Addison to running back, he's still going to be listed here as a receiver. Just pointing that out there. I'm just curious about that. Vince, what are you going to do? I mean, Pollard, I like that pick. Congratulations on that. I was curious as who you were going to end up with. And I agree with your draft in a lot of ways that sometimes the least important player on a fantasy lineup is this number 2 running back. Is this a trend that we'll see moving forward with the Vince Staffolino, or is this a special thing that you're doing tonight?
So this is a best ball mentality. I wouldn't wait that long on my second running back in redraft. Had a good Pros versus Joes back in 2023 when I won my league and then finished 7th overall. And I kind of built a team like this with a strong wide receiver in the middle, Bijan up at the top. Had some late round gems come through, like Achane. I think I got him in the 12th, and then Tank Dell in the 18th. So hopefully I find some magic like that later in this draft tonight.
Doesn't surprise me. I'm betting on you, Vince.
Well, thank you.
Vince, the other thing I just noticed about your team, and I don't know, maybe you purposefully did this, maybe you didn't. You have a lot of late round and mid round stacking opportunities here. With you mentioned St. Brown and Laporta, but Smith and Jigba, Waddle, Judy, Addison. I mean, all these guys, and you don't have any quarterbacks in your team, and maybe that's better because now you have all this flexibility to make sure you're stacking these guys up. Did that go into the equation at all when you were picking these guys early on?
For sure. Yeah, I knew I was going to wait on quarterback. And I think obviously the stacking opportunities are pretty obvious. So I'm not giving anything away here. But they're guys you can get in the double-digit rounds, which is great.
What was sort of like your thoughts when you knew you were drafting in the 11th spot between Leone and Boone? What was your thought process on how you thought your first few picks were going to go?
Well, I thought Genty would be there for sure. I was hoping Neighbors maybe, but I think that's kind of where it stops. McBride, there's no way he's going to fall. I would have loved to have had him for sure. I don't think I could take Achane in the first. So if he would have slipped to 2.02, that would have been nice.
What was the reason that you liked Genty over Achane?
He's a Raider.
Well,
Where's
where's that big chain?
Oh, I got it right here. I'll put it on. Here we go.
Where is the chain?
Chain's right here, baby. Props? I got it.
When the guest calls and asks for the props, Buck.
Well, with Genty, I think he has a chance to be the RB1 overall, and I don't think Achane does. So it's a little bit of that unknown upside.
What do you say to the And we had this come up in an earlier show, and I had to bite my tongue. It had nothing to do with this player being a Raider. But somebody in the chat room the other night, a good player, said, I think Genty's going to be a bust. How?
Yeah.
Under what circumstances? That does not include injury.
That's a tough sell for me. Like, I think, like, if you say he's going to be a bust, it kind of depends how high you're taking him. It's hard for me, as long as he stays healthy, it's hard for me to say that he's not going to return late first round value. If he gets hurt, okay, all bets are off. Vince, I gotta ask you here. Tyrone Tracy was the pick that you just made at the 9-11. Scadaboo goes right after that to Justin Boone. You had the choice between the Giants running backs. You went Tracy over Scadaboo here. Why was that?
If I was going to have one of the two, I'd take Tracy. I saw some good things last year. I was really hoping I'd be able to get both and double up that backfield. I've done that in a couple best balls so far, but Justin was smart enough to not let that happen.
Yeah, such is life. It didn't happen, but what is happening is your 10-02 pick right now. 3 running backs, 5 receivers, a tight end. We just saw a round that featured 6 quarterbacks. Are you going to look at that position here?
I think I have to for my my ultimate stack here.
Laporta,
there you go.
St. Brown, welcome on Jared Goff on the Vince Staffolino squad here at the 11 hole tonight. Goff, Laporta, and St. Brown. I guess there's a possibility you could grab another Lion later on, but you don't need to worry about that at this point. There are some other stacking opportunities that you have here as well. I was reading, or maybe I was listening to somebody talk about Laporta and how his 2024 was a bit of a letdown, Vince. From 2023, but sometimes I think we're a prisoner of our own expectations. He still had a really good year in 2024, and I think he's on for I guess I'm preaching to the converted here, but I think he's on for another really good 2025 here. You clearly believe the same thing, taking him with the second pick of the 4th round.
Yeah, I do too. John Morton taking over.
Yes,
I think they're going to keep business as usual, in my opinion. Why would they fix something that's not broken, right?
Mm-hmm.
How nervous were you that Goff wasn't going to come back to you?
Now that you say that, I probably could have waited.
I don't know, man.
I don't think so.
I wouldn't have messed around with it, Vince. I think you did the right thing there. I expect, like, you are invested into the Detroit Lions here. You obviously want to be in business with them. There's no reason to needle it with Jared Goff. I think you did the right thing there in getting him. What's the over-under on suspension for Jordan Addison? Like how many? I shouldn't say over-under. How many games do you think he gets suspended this year, Vince?
2 to 4.
2 to 4. Okay, fair enough.
Go
ahead.
No, this is a long game here, right? I have plenty of people to fill in that gap until he comes back from suspension, and I think that he's the kind of guy that can do one of those 2 or 3 TD games in the dome late in the season that wins you a week or wins you the league or maybe even wins the overall competition in PBJ.
Vince, to that end, talking about the suspensions, did you consider Rashee Rice at all over Jackson Smith and Jigba?
I didn't. No, I didn't. I like JSN's profile. I wanted a couple of high volume PPR receivers, and I thought he paired well with St. Brown. I do have the 4 by week 8 right there to start the draft, but oh well, it's best ball.
Yeah, it's best ball, and it's total points, and it's all about just beating 11 people, which I think you definitely have a leg up on doing it. This is a strong team that I think nobody is surprised that you have drafted and put together so far, Vince. I wish you good luck the rest of the way. Thank you so much for hopping aboard the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown with me a couple of weeks ago. And, by the way, just so you're aware, this interview just never went out to the stream that we just did, so I need you to come back on and do the whole thing again. I'm just kidding. Great first half of the draft. Keep it up, and we'll see you very soon. We'll see you in Las Vegas, right?
See you in Vegas. Thanks, Balky. Thanks, Farrell. Farrell, I'm going to give you a call tomorrow.
Oh, I appreciate hearing from you.
There you go.
All right, guys. Take care.
See ya. Yeah, that's Vince Staffolino. Vince, I should have brought this up while he was on, but I know he's got to get back to the draft. Vince is a big Ohio State fan, Farrell. And he told me something I never heard of, and I'm probably going to butcher it now. But when he was growing up, because obviously Ohio State and Michigan, those fans don't like each other.
No.
And he said something to the effect of, it was when he was growing up in Columbus, and you'd be in the bathroom and you'd flush, and like a number 2, and they always say flush twice because it's a long way for those pipes to get to Ann Arbor. Which I thought was hilarious when you're in Columbus and it's all about the rivalry and this is what they're doing to the people in Michigan.
You've had better material, Balky. I don't know.
Listen, when Vince sold it to me, I thought it was hilarious. And
I think it's the delivery that you suffer.
Probably, yeah.
You should have asked Vince to. I don't know.
See, this is why I can't do a late night show. I screw stuff up like this.
But you can do anything you want. Once Johnny Carson asked Audrey Hepburn how old she was. Everybody can make a mistake on, If she had the best response of any woman you've ever heard.
All right.
He looked at him and she says, Johnny, I'll forgive you for asking if you'll forgive me for not telling. I love that so much.
That was on the Tonight Show. That really happened.
Yeah, I really am.
That's fantastic. Farrell Sigmund Bloom has cobbled together a strong team. Some would say quite strong in the YouTube chat right now. If you look at his squad from the 2-hole, you have Mayfield and Mahomes as his quarterbacks. He has gotten Jonathan Taylor, Chuba Hubbard, Ramondre Stevenson, and now Rashad White in his backfield. Receivers are a little light. Wilson, Devonta Smith, and Jacoby Myers, and then he's got Bowers and Kraft. I always say you have to be weak somewhere. And again, in the FFPC Pros versus Joes, any FFPC leagues, you only have to start 2 receivers. So, it's fine to be strong at all these other spots. You just got to cobble the receivers together late. I do agree with the YouTube chat. I think this is a very fun team. This is a very exciting team. Most of all, it's a very competitive team.
Yeah, and Wilson is going to catch a great number of passes. So I think Wilson probably scores for him every week, if not 80% of them. So really, he's got to find that second scorer. And if Kraft is as good as everyone thinks he is going to be, well, what he'll do with Bowers will be fantastic. And so you take Wilson at 100 catches and Bowers at 140 with the 1.5 or 180 with the 1.5. Before you know it, he's a real threat. His quarterbacks to wait that late and get those 2 guys, he must be crazy giddy happy.
Yeah, I would say so. And the other thing too is if you want to, utilize everything that we're doing tonight, bring you to this live look in. This is basically the same format as the FFPC Best Ball Tournament, which you can register for right now and win a $300,000 grand prize, $125 to enter. We also have a Superflex Best Ball Tournament, still $100,000 grand prize, $35 entry there. For the Best Ball Tournament, for the first time ever, we're offering 2 six-figure prizes in that. The runner-up is going to get $100K this year as well. Drafts already off and running at myffpc.com, myffpc.com. What I wanted to get with Bloom's team is your insight on Rashad White is picking up a little steam. I just drafted Bucky Irving, I think for like the second time, but the first time in months today. So I'm excited about that. But I also understand Rashad White is a player that isn't exactly going away. And if we do see some regression in the mean with Irving, doesn't that suggest a positive regression for Rashad White? Bloom gets him at the running back 38 in the 11th round tonight. Starting to think White's a little bit undervalued. Am I wrong?
No, you are, Balky, and so it's part of the stack, and it's a nice play, and I like it. Mark Twain reports of my death. What was it, Balky?
I have been greatly exaggerated.
Greatly exaggerated. Rashad White is you could say that as well about him.
I am looking at the Aces High squad from the 8th spot. That is our good buddy Dan Williamson and, of course, our friend Bradley Stalder. They host the Stack Hunters podcast on the Player Profiler Podcast Network. They are drafting from the 8th spot tonight, and there is a Vikings tinge to this team, as Dan Williamson is a big Vikings fan. They get Jefferson in the 1st round, and no surprise that they get J.J. McCarthy here in the 11th. I remember the days when I was listening to Dan Williamson and reading Dan Williamson say, I am getting J.J. McCarthy as the number 3 quarterback on all my best ball teams without even really trying. And now he has ascended. Now I'm a little surprised he lasted as long as he did tonight, but he's the number 2 tonight at quarterback 19. Similar to that, what he was saying earlier on, has the love gone too far in McCarthy? Are we actually overdrafting him right now, or is this still a spot you want to be in business with this quasi-rookie quarterback in 2025?
I don't want it, but I understand why he did. And I don't like him paired with Purdy at all. So I'll be anxious to see who the third quarterback is. But
why don't you like the Purdy pairing?
I don't believe, it was a significant drop-off for Purdy last year, and I think we're going to see a bigger drop-off this year.
Okay.
I just don't – I'm not particularly impressed with the direction of that team. Now, you get McCaffrey back. McCaffrey's going to do some wonderful things, but that doesn't necessarily help Purdy hit these receivers. There's questions at all the receiver positions, and I love Juwan Jennings. I was drafting him in the 11th round as my 3rd and 4th receiver a couple years ago. Somebody's got to emerge as a number 1 receiver. I don't think I would draft him as a number 1 receiver as much as I like his play. So that's not going to be the quarterback that I wanted to draft there.
Our guy, Jimmy Williams, too, in the YouTube chat points out that not only is J.J. McCarthy and Justin Jefferson on that team, they got T.J. Hawkinson on that squad as well. So they got a lot of purple stacking going on there, especially with Hawkinson. So the tactic we have talked about on this show, we've done Pros versus Joes for several years now, is taking 2 quarterbacks in the top 6 rounds. What happens if you don't do that, Farrell? What happens if you take one tight end, a tight end, not quarterback? If I said quarterback, I'm sorry. But taking 2 tight ends in the first 6 rounds, what happens if you flip it and you take Njoku in the 6th and Dallas Goedert in the 10th, like Mauricio Gutierrez that he's on the clock right now here? If you do something like that with Njoku and Goddard, you can see his whole team there. You feel like this sets him up for having 4 tight ends on this squad instead of 3?
I hope so, because I don't care for either of those guys, and certainly don't like them on the same squad.
Is it the quarterback situation in Cleveland, and then just the pecking order in Philadelphia?
Pecking order in Philadelphia, availability of the player. I think he's a great football player, but a little bit, he's like a poor man's Kittle in fantasy football, because Kittle is a great football player. But in fantasy football, he's asked to do so many things by the 49ers, a team, Sean Green, that I absolutely love. He's asked to do so many things with 49ers that he can sometimes disappear in that offense. I know he puts up big numbers. Goddard disappears quite often in the Philadelphia offense, and he has a hard time staying on the field. It's not a play for me.
I want to talk about the tight ends for Josh Hayes' squad, specifically Jonnu Smith, who just went off the board to the RotoBaller Wunderkind Josh Hayes. 1207 is where Jonnu Smith falls tonight. How do you think that situation is going to resolve itself from a best ball season-long standpoint here between Smith and Freiermuth catching balls from Aaron Rodgers this year, Farrell? So many new working parts there. I just don't know what to make of it, and I feel like I've just been kind of avoiding it for fear of the unknown, but maybe I should be targeting one of these Pittsburgh guys. What do you make of Smith here?
You remember that little funky song by Johnny Cash? I built it one piece at a time by putting the car together. He brought it. There's no synchronicity of that Steeler offense. Now, maybe all those great veteran players come together and it looks beautiful in its execution. But those are 2 tight ends that I respect tremendously in the high stakes format that I'm playing in. Now, this format, I'm okay with it if that's what you want to do. But once we put that FFPC entry fee down on the table and have to compete, I'm thinking that I might want to compete with some other tight ends.
There was one KFFSC best ball team, and I looked at it. I have through 16 or 17 rounds, Farrell, and I didn't try to do it. I have 9 rookies. It's insane. And one of the pairings I have for rookies on that team, my top 2 tight ends, are the same top 2 tight ends that Michael Leone has drafted from the 10 hole tonight. The 2 rookies. He gets Tyler Warren here in the 7th. He gets Colston Loveland here in the 9th. He has kind of sandwiched those picks with Kyler Murray and Caleb Williams. So he attacked the receiver and running back position early on. And I think there are some electric choices there at running back. Now we'll see what he cobbles together here because he's only got 3 running backs through round 11. But what do you make of that strategy? And I'm not saying it was a strategy to go out and draft both rookie tight ends, but what do you make of having in this format your top 2 tight ends both being rookies?
I would trade both those guys for likely Henry and maybe even Zach Ertz. I don't understand what we expect from those players, especially with Loveland coming through that injury situation that he had. And I know he's been granted that he's ready to go, but that's the kind of injury that you have at a tight end position. It could be difficult to play at the level that you would want a young player playing at. So I don't know. And who is there with Loveland at the other tight end position?
Tyler Warren.
No. Who's a teammate in the real team?
Oh, Cole Kmet.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And Cole Kmet, what does Cole Kmet do, Balky? You taught me that he did this. Not a Cole Kmet fan. You won me over. What does Cole Kmet do?
Well, he just catches balls. I mean,
he catches some touchdowns too.
Yeah. I think that the Loveland thing is interesting. We'll see how he handles training camp going forward, coming off the shoulder. But a rookie coming in already has everything stacked up against him. You don't want to add an injury onto that as well. Now, I've been drafting Loveland, so it's not like I'm running afraid from Loveland, but I understand the misgivings here.
You don't live in fear. I
don't live in fear. And neither does
I've got him on dynasty teams, and I love him as a player and love the potential. But I just think, rookie tight ends are slow cook, and you're going to be hungry in this league from game 1.
Mike Leone is on the clock right now here in the 13th round, I think we're in. Yeah, and he just took Luther Burden, and I'm glad he did because this goes in with the whole narrative I have for his squad right now, Farrell. If you look at Leone's squad from Establish the Run at the 10 spot tonight, it is all young. It is all explosive. You look at the quarterbacks, Kyler Murray, who wants to run more this year. Caleb Williams, who obviously gets the Ben Johnson upgrade. The running backs, Breece Hall, a player that I think a lot of people are betting on a big year for him. And based on what the coaches are saying, I think that they're going to lean more into Hall, a player that was being drafted in the top 5 last year or whatever it was. Travion Henderson, a guy that we were all excited about before the NFL draft. And I think many of us still are, given where he is, and he's in an up-and-coming offense. Bayshell Tootin, maybe the most athletic running back in the draft, not named Ashton Genty. He goes there as well. And then the receivers, Neighbors and Collins, elite target monsters, right? Marvin Harrison, who I'm a big fan of as a bounce-back player this year, pairing with him with Kyler Murray. Tedero McMillan, the number 1 wide receiver, kind of, drafted in the 2025 NFL draft. And then you have Ayuk, who granted is not the youngest guy or the most explosive guy, but his value is depressed because of the ACL, right? Sure. And you get him in round 13. And then Luther Burden, one of the first players drafted on day 2 of the NFL draft, another explosive playmaker that, oh, by the way, he's got his quarterback on this team in Caleb Williams. So there's a stack there as well. So Leone is putting together this team of youth and explosion. And I think youth and explosion is sort of the traditional way to not only win your league in pros versus Joes, but win the whole damn thing as well.
Exactly. And then following that narrative, he threw us a real curve there.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate that.
That's okay, because the balance is a necessity. And I really like I really like what he's doing. I can't say I would have done it myself, especially we talked about bunching those tight ends and quarterbacks there. But he's got a lot of talented players here, so I'll give him a good job of putting this together.
And I'll say this right now, if I was Leone, and listen, he's forgotten more about fantasy football than I'll ever know, but I will tell you this: I might be done with receivers now at this point. He's got 7 of them, and of those 7, 4 of them were drafted in the first 5 rounds, so he's very top heavy there. He needs to get more guys in the backfield, which I'm sure he's aware of. And I would probably get at least 1 more tight end and definitely 1 more quarterback too. So when you're talking about, a quarterback and a tight end soaking up 2 more spots, maybe another tight end, and then you only have 3 spots left for running backs just to get you 6. I think he's kind of got the rest of his draft mapped out, at least from where I'm sitting, my 30,000 mile view. That's where I would be looking to go if I were him. But I'm sure he's got something cooked up for us that's going to be a lot of fun. I love the quarterbacks for Vince Staffolino's squad. We just talked to him about 20, 25 minutes ago. He got Goff. He has added Michael Penix onto this team, another up-and-coming quarterback, and then Cam Ward on his squad. Now, I thought that there was going to be a possibility that he would look at a guy like Tua Tagovailoa, maybe Sam Darnold as a third quarterback late. Tagovailoa is gone. I don't think he loads up with a fourth quarterback anymore, and he's certainly not going with any of the Cleveland guys as far as stacking goes with Smith and Jigba, Waddle, and Judy. But Goff, Penix, and Ward, we don't talk a whole lot about Ward, but I think he's going to be an exciting player to watch this year. And for Vince's team here, that's his number 3 quarterback.
I made an off-the-cuff comment about Ward the other night, which was incorrect and poorly added. Sometimes you just got to learn to shut your mouth up, Balky, and that's for me. But in Ward's case, the skillful player that the organization is counting on impressively. I think the rookie wide receiver that's there, I'd like to see if that player makes his way onto Vince's squad and see what he's doing. He's getting a late stack on those Titans, and I kind of like it.
That's a good thing about drafting Ward late, is because you do have that late stacking possibility. FPI that was the team. Petra and Larson ended up taking Tagovailoa. They've also added Prescott and Matthew Stafford onto that team as well. Elijah Arroyo and Jake Ferguson, the newly signed Jake Ferguson. Shout out University of Wisconsin. The Badger, who failed to get into the end zone last year, but still secured the bag. Good on Ferguson to get that money. And does that mean anything about how we view his role in Dallas this year, Farrell?
It does. And
this is with the addition of Pickens this year, too.
Right. And so I very much like what they're doing. They're the number 2 and number 3 quarterback, I think, have always been favorites of theirs. They're ignoring some of the reports right now on Mooney, which I think is the right thing. Arroyo is the interesting player to me here. Balky, isn't that bargain for Arroyo in the 14th round? Or I thought he was moving up a little further than that.
Tight end 25 at the 1503 over the
last 3 days. They came in. You know, maybe I ought to pay more attention to my subscription with Darren's group. But Arroyo, I think Arroyo proves to be the steal here, and they needed a steal, and they're going to need one more, maybe 2 more tight ends. So that I don't know if I correctly answered your question, but I really do continue to like. You know, we liked everybody through Kamara. And I'm impressed with what they're doing here. I think the quarterbacks is going to score their points is naturally Prescott. I don't know how the other guys are going to contribute, but you could see spike games from either of them.
You had mentioned the reports on Darnell Mooney, who went to FPI here, the team we're talking about, at the 11:05. You think people should be ignoring these about the shoulder injury?
Not ignoring, but I think we see that
not putting too much stock into him. Is that
I mean, you know, it's he's a veteran. He's a veteran NFL player, and he's not going to be disabled long. And as Vince made a comment on his one player that's going to be suspended, you know, he's playing the long game here. Mooney, that's a fine pick where they got him.
The squad that I don't think we've talked about Al Leach's squad here, drafting along with, I believe, Kyle, if I'm remembering correctly. I don't want to speak. Yeah, Albert and Kyle Leach from the 3 spot tonight. Bijan Robinson, which apparently, did you hear this, Farrell, that it's not Bijan Robinson, it's Bijan Robinson. He told
it's Bijan Mustard.
Yeah, and it's Bijan Robinson. Bucky Irving, so a couple of high-volume running backs there in the top 2 rounds. Higgins, Worthy, Metcalf right after that to fill in at wide receiver. He's gotten Evan Engram, Evan Engram's old teammate Brenton Strange, and now Theo Johnson in the 15th round. Pacheco is part of his backfield. He's got Nixon, Stroud there. Mims, Higgins, Downs has been added to those guys, to the Leach's squad here. This is an interesting team, too, where they pound running back and receiver early and then just kind of keep spicing tight end, sprinkling tight end through. Engram in the 6th, Strange in the 12th, Johnson in the 15th. I think they still need one more quarterback. And I think in my opinion, I think they got some work to do at running back, but maybe I'm wrong on that because they are really, really top heavy. at running back, as top heavy as anybody is in this draft.
Who are we talking about here? I'm sorry.
This is Al and Kyle Leach from the 3 spot, the Bijan Robinson team. I think just before you answer that, I'll just tell you this right now. They are the only team in this draft that went running back. So ostensibly, you would think that their running back duo, or their top 2 running backs, are as good or better than anybody else's duo in this draft. Go ahead.
I love their third back as well, and kudos on them for a great choice at that point, Pacheco, and that's a wonderful thing. I don't know if I would have bought into the Tyler Algier pick at that point, but
you're basically locking up the Falcons running game with Rob.
Well, but I don't think they're going to give that ball. I don't think they're going to give the ball to Tyler that often like they did last year inside the 10, inside the 5. That was disappointing for all the Robinson owners. But fair enough. I think they need 2 more running backs. If they keep picking them straight, it's going to be a pretty good situation.
Yeah, I think 1 more quarterback, 2 more running backs probably wouldn't kill you to get another receiver, but that's neither here nor there.
Man, I tell you what, your guy Blue got drafted. He needed to get drafted. By,
yeah.
And
well, what do you, Farrell? But like my guy Blue, I guess he has been as far as dynasty goes. But like, what do you make of that Dallas situation? I just keep looking at it from the standpoint of like, okay, they drafted him in the 5th round this year, which is more like a 4th round pick, given how good and deep this class was. And then he's got to beat out Javonte Williams, who was not signed for a lot, who Denver was more than willing to let go of. And then Miles Sanders are basically a bucket of balls. Like it's just, I see the pathway for Blue. Like it's fairly clear for me. And to get him in the 13th round, I understand the whole narrative about him. And let me, by the way, I think Ben Gritch, I was reading his Stealing Signals today. He pointed this out. That report about Jaden Blue being lazy and he needed a kick in the rear or whatever. That report came from a Cowboys coach who hasn't been a Cowboys coach for 20 years. I didn't realize he was out of the building that long. And then when other coaches, and I guess you would expect this, but other coaches, other people around the building were asked about this Jaden Blue report, and they all went the other way. It said, like, no,
sure,
that's not true at all, which you would expect. So I don't know. I think people are making too much of that. I think that I can see Jaden Blue having a few pockets where he strings together some good games this year.
Oh, that's and why not? And I'm just as excited about Bill Merritt because we talked about this Friday night, and I like where he could go in that offense.
He hasn't been. He has been drafted. I'm surprised he hasn't been drafted. But Billy Van Ormer drafts Bill Merritt tonight.
Billy Van Ormer is on it, baby.
Yeah. And that was his 4th straight. And look what Bill's doing here too. We talked about his running back situation. You correctly made the prediction that he would take a running back in the 8th. He does with Brian Robinson. But what do all his running backs have in common here? I shouldn't say all of them, but I mean, he's got 6 running backs, and 4 of them are rookies. 5 of them are rookies. He's got Hampton, he's got Blue, Smith, and Krosky Merritt. So 4 out of his 6 running backs are rookies. And sometimes I think that's what you need. Like I often say in Dynasty, a lot of these rookie running backs just redshirt for the year. But if you draft a bunch of them at the end, when you already have that wide receiver core, these guys can just be good. Like I said, for Bill Merritt. Like
I think everybody agrees that Ray Davis is looking at a better year than he had last year.
I would think so. I mean, just like the regression
last year too.
The regression for Cook and then these guys don't have to be smashes, right? They don't have to crush it for you all season. They just have to get you by a few weeks, and sometimes that's enough. He adds Joshua Palmer here in the 16th round. Does Bill Van Ormer here? I like the Jarquez Hunter pick here at the end of the 16th round for Lindo and Kuzmano at the 16-12 to go with their Jacobs, Brown, Mixon, Spears, and Hunter. Adam Hahn was in the chat earlier on YouTube and said Mixon wasn't an auto pick. And, I look at a running back 31 at the 901. Yeah, maybe that's a little bit rich based on what we're hearing, but that could pay off, Farrell. How have you been handling Mixon in drafts? And I'll tell you this right now, in the FFPC Best Ball Tournament, over the last 3 days, and this is mostly including when this news came out about Mixon, running back 22 at the 5'11", they're basically getting 3 rounds of value on him right here. If Mixon ends up, playing early on in the season, if he doesn't play till October, we might have a problem.
I have no news on it and no understanding of it, but Mixon is a fantastic player who'll work hard to get back on the field. Injuries don't heal on their own; they heal through effort, through the medical staff, through players' mindset. It's not all players heal and handle injury in the same way. And Mixon has been a hard-nosed player for a long time. So that's a risk, especially at that draft spot that I'm willing to take.
Keaton Mitchell is a player that I've been looking at later on in my draft. Sigmund Bloom grabs him at the 1702. Do you think there was any inkling that if he would have made it to Petri and Larson here at the 1705 that they would have taken him to go with Derrick Henry?
Yeah, that is a perfect decision as far as I'm concerned.
We have not talked about the Joneses squad much. We touched on it a little bit from the 7 spot tonight, and I want to talk about Dennis and Stephen Jones's team. Farrell, I know you can't see the top 2 picks, but they have started off with Barkley and Kittle. And then they get Josh Allen. They had the true rainbow start where they had one player at each position: Barkley, Kittle, Allen, Adams. They added Kelsey in the 5th, Swift, Shakir, Godwin, Warren, Kupp, Herbert, Bigsby, Judkins, Thielen, Otten, Sanders, De'Ami Brown. So just naming all those players off, I think that there are. Well, let me just frame it like this: the Joneses picked in the draft tonight, not in order, but they have these guys on their squad: Saquon Barkley, Travis Kelce, DeAndre Swift, Chris Godwin, Cooper Kupp, Quinshon Judkins. Now, say what you will about those players. They're on the list I just made because of either age or some other stuff going on. Whether that's heavy usage last year, off the field stuff. But this is another squad that I think gets it. Like, you don't have to agree with all their picks, but when you look at what they've done here, they've mixed in some high volatility guys with some really steady eddies. Kittle, Josh Allen, Devontae Adams. And I think that the way that they've cobbled this team together from the middle, which is not always easy to do. I like I said, I don't like all the picks, but I like what they're doing overall.
Well, we said Pitcher and Larson were a Buick of the draft. This is Grandma's Buick of the draft. This is, I understand all these players. They're going to maybe, in this format, maybe you handcuff a couple wide receivers. But all in all, I can see how this team, I would have done it differently. I guess I've got to come with an idea of where I would draft Kittle. But I love their players and what they've done. They've got plenty at tight end because of who their tight end is. Let's see if they add one more. I wish I was looking at the list of available players. Some of them are going now, but
there's a lot of tight ends that we're seeing a bunch of them go off the board here. 34 of them. Harold Fannin just went to Vince Staffolino. So 34 of them are now off the board. Tight end pickings are getting slim for sure.
Okay.
Moving over to Team 12, that's Justin Boone with Yahoo Fantasy Sports, and I think he's really the only team. Well, we'll talk about Team 1. We haven't talked about Lindo and Kuzmanos. Well, I guess we kind of did a little bit. We have not talked about Justin Boone's squad at all. The quarterbacks, Jaden Daniels, Geno Smith, Jackson Dart, Farrell. The running backs, Achane, James Conner, Cam Skadaboo, J.K. Dobbins, Roshan Johnson, Jalen Wright. Receivers are Puka Nacua, Rashee Rice, Roma Dunze, Emeka Egbuka, Keon Coleman, Trey Harris, and then tight ends are Dalton Kincaid, Chig Okonkwo, and Darren Waller. Again, I don't like all these picks, but you look at what he's doing here. Young and explosive. Rice, Nacua, Achane, Daniels is another one too. Odunze, Kincaid, who I just read today, I think it was Footballguys was saying that using some Buffalo report that they're throwing downfield more to Kincaid this year than they have the first 2 years. And this is what we wanted. This is what they should have drafted. They drafted him for. They should have been doing this all along. And I'm glad to see it. Egbuka, who everybody loves right now, Cam Scadaboo, the young running back in New York. You got Coleman, Trey Harris, another rookie. And then obviously the age, like a fine wine, with Okonkwo and Waller to go with Kincaid. So question marks at tight end. Yes, I don't think it's the safest group in the world. I think running back, we'll see if it comes through. I think he's a little weak there. I think the receivers are fine. He's got Rice, and you're going to have to count on Odunze, Egbuka, and Coleman to get you through those weeks when Rice is essentially unavailable. We think he's going to be suspended. But getting that Jaden Daniels thing, that's kind of a panacea. It kind of cures all. So not my favorite team from Justin, and he'll be on the Insider Access show with me on the Better Sports Network coming up next month. Very excited for that. It's not my favorite team in the world, but I get what he's doing here. And sometimes, Farrell, it's difficult to draft on the end.
Yeah, and he's drafting a lot of players that we've talked about, and I'm sure that he's talked about. And when they reside in the very, very front of your head and the tip of your tongue, you're going to go out and pull that trigger on some of them. And I don't necessarily like this team either. Am I seeing that he has two quarterbacks? Is that the correct number?
3. He's got Daniels, Geno Smith, and Jackson.
Oh, I didn't see Daniels yet.
I scrolled down. I
feel a little better about that, and I'll tip the cap to him of taking a flyer on Waller, and the thought that Dart will see some meaningful time, especially towards the end of the season. So I like what he's doing in the back half of it.
The back half looks strong. Jalen Wright is starting to pick up a little bit of steam right now, and we'll see with Roshan Johnson. But if you don't like Swift, I think you probably should like Johnson where he's going right now as well. What do you make of this Harold Fannin pick that Vince Staffolino took from the 11th spot in the 18th round? Is Fannin going to have redraft value this year behind David Njoku? He caught 1 billion passes last year. Does that continue right away his rookie year in the NFL?
I don't know. Bowling Green Falcon to NFL, I don't know. Yeah, there's some very, very good players that come out of that program. They're getting better every year. I like the player. I don't want to count on him in this format. He would be my tight end 4. But he's he lives in Vince's world, so that's good enough for me. We'll see how he does. I'm rooting for the player, I'll tell you that.
Speaking of young tight ends, Sigmund Bloom grabbed another one here. We have Brock Bowers, Tucker Kraft early on for Bloom, and now he's added Jatavian Sanders, a young breakout type guy in Carolina, and then Aronde Gadsden, Farrell, that people are talking up in Los Angeles right now. Yeah, Tyler Conklin's there, but we kind of know what Tyler Conklin is. We don't know what Gadsden is, and with the players we don't know what they are, those are the players I want to draft late. I know it's best ball, and he's on your team all year. You can't make any changes. But 18th round, tight end 37 with Gadsden, even already having Bowers, Kraft, and Sanders, I think that's a fun player to take a chance on here.
I think it is too. I like Gadsden. I like his history, his proverbial bloodlines as being coming from a football family, and based on who else is left, I'm willing to go with that. I like him better than Conklin and Higbee, who we've seen their best efforts for fantasy football. Good football players, but we've seen their best numbers in past days.
Noah Gray has now been the latest selection for Billy Van Ormer here in the 19th round. Noah Gray joins a tight end room with Team Van Ormer featuring Trey McBride and Isaiah Likely. This is an interesting pick. Do you think, what kind of role does Gray have? Are we going to see him potentially take over the tight end position at some point for Kelsey this year?
Kelsey would have to be injured twice because he would play hurt. So he'll play hurt in front of Gray. So, no, I don't think Noah Gray can help Billy Van Ormer's team. And as you said, if you want a third tight end, who's it going to be? So and he loves, he just loves drafting these receivers. He's gone a little old on us with Palmer and Slayton. Those guys can still have big contributing games, but Noah Gray, I think we could have done something else there.
I had been drafting as like a wide receiver 5 in a lot of KFFSC drafts I was in, Keenan Allen. And it was based on the advice that I had gotten from Dan Williamson, listening to Stack Hunters and reading what he's doing for Player Profiler. And no surprise tonight, Farrell. Look who grabs Keenan Allen here in the 18th round. It's the stack hunters. It's Dan Williamson. It's Bradley Stalder, and they draft him there. Keenan Allen's going to find his way on an NFL team this season, right?
Oh, sure. I would think so. Hey,
it may not happen till after the start of the season, though.
Yeah, I would think so. Hey, remember we talked about who Vince might continue his Titans stack with, and he's gone out there and done it.
He got Cameron Ward in the 14th round, and he's added Alec Iamaner here in the 19th, the rookie receiver from Stanford, who joins kind of a interesting wide receiver core there, Farrell. Obviously, Calvin Ridley's the number one, but they utilized draft capital on both Iamaner, and then they got the former Badger, Shamir Dike, on day 3. He of the Florida Gators now. He's added onto that squad. They've signed Tyler Lockett, who I'm not convinced makes the team, but I could be wrong on that. But that Titans passing, I mentioned Cam Ward is a fun guy because of how much he pushes the ball down the field, and there could be a lot of YOLO passes there this year in Tennessee with them not being expected to contend for the playoffs or the Super Bowl or anything like that. It's not the most exciting receiver core, but it could be some exciting receiver performances there this year because of Cam Ward.
Yeah, and everything's new there, so why not go with a young player there that would have some upside with this rookie quarterback? It's going to be a fun team to watch. They've got a matchup. Me and old buddy J.R. Fenton are thinking about a trip, Titans versus Raiders in Las Vegas. It would be an interesting team to watch live.
Speaking of said Raiders, Farrell, as I'm still wearing my chain here tonight.
You should. You should wear it everywhere, Bucky. It becomes you.
I sleep in it at night. The Dante Thornton pick here in the 19th round by Williamson and Stalder. Is this a thing? I mean, I remember it was like a month ago. Everybody was talking about like, oh my God, he's running ahead of Jack Besh in mini camps or whatever. Should we still be paying attention to Thornton? And just so all the viewers are aware, I'm asking maybe the president of the Trey Tucker fan club too.
Yeah, I think that you definitely should be adding this player, and I think that you've got a challenge in front of you with so much draft capital on their first 3 fantasy Raiders. But this player could have a couple of spike games. He's got an unusual skill set, and he'll have it because defenses decide to try to take away some of these other players. I don't think they've been successful at that. And sometimes when that happens, a guy like this can run free all over the field. And he's a good ball catcher. The top end of his routes are really good. Skinny post is his best pattern. I like him.
Farrell, I want to close with this tonight, as we are only 3 picks away from this draft being done. Who was your favorite Bears running back drafted tonight with the value, like with what you had to pay for him?
Let's review.
DeAndre Swift at the 606, okay? Roshan Johnson at the 1512, or Kyle Monungai at the 2008.
I don't know enough about the 20th round pick. Swift, with this coach, brings up memories of what he did with players in Detroit. So I will go Team Swift with the Johnson offense.
Team Swift, I think that's probably my favorite one at cost again tonight. I just think that if you miss on that pick, it's the 6th round. It's not going to set you back. And obviously with the Joneses, that is their number 2 running back. And Jalen Warren's the one right behind it. So I guess you never know. But listen,
and the thing, if your name is Swift, last year you had a good year. This year you probably have a good year.
Probably, exactly.
It's a good year to be a Swift.
It's a good year to be a Swift. It's always a good time to do a show with one Farrell Elliott, the commissioner of the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship. KFFSC.com is where to go. Main event drafts online, slows being held online, lives being held, and of course, if you want to draft live in Northern Kentucky or where I'll be in Louisville, Kentucky at the end of next month, KFFSC.com is where to go for that. Farrell, thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight. And we will be back at it at 9 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow, my friend.
I'll look forward to seeing you, buddy.
That is Farrell Elliott, ladies and gentlemen, and that will complete tonight's broadcast of Pros versus Joes number 4. As a reminder, Big Gorilla Tournament. I'm commissioning some drafts here, one at the top of the hour, midnight draft tonight as well. So if you want to take your chance at $1 million grand prize, go to myffpc.com, myffpc.com, and play today. $50 discount on every third team you get. And it's a great way to spend a Sunday evening. Take a chance at $1 million. FFPC Main Event is our flagship event. Remember, if you want your draft slot early, get those teams registered by midnight Pacific time tonight. So you got roughly 5.5 hours or so. And if you do have them registered by then August 3rd, next Sunday, you're going to get your draft slot for your FFPC Main Event team, whether you're drafting live with us at Paris Resort and Casino in Las Vegas or the comfort of your own home. Don't forget, we still have Dynasty startups going on at the FFPC as well. Those go on through the end of summer. 2,000 plus leagues in 5.5 years, a decade and a half. So 15 years. We've never had one of those 2,000 leagues fold. So once you play Dynasty with the FFPC, you're there as long as you want to be. myffpc.com is where to go. Remember to like, subscribe, comment on this video, share it with your friends, share it with your enemies, get notified each and every time we go live. This has unofficially kicked off live draft week for us here at the FFPC. We're going to have Pros versus Joes tomorrow, which is Monday. We're going to have Pros versus Joes on Tuesday. We're going to have live main event draft coverage. Aiden LaCorey, Dave Terpoli, and then the sports gambling podcast guys, Sean Green, Ryan Kramer, who was just on Insider Access with me last week. They're going to be co-hosting that with Aiden and Dave on Wednesday night. Thursday night, we have FFPC Best Ball Tournament live draft coverage. It's going to be myself and Justin Herzig from Establish the Run, who is going to join me for that. And then Friday, Farrell and I will be live. Farrell's coming up for Mile of Music in Appleton, Wisconsin, where I am. So we're going to do the show live together. We're going to cover an FFPC Big Gorilla Draft. So live drafts every single night on the FFPC YouTube channel this week, except for Saturday. We give you the night off to draft that night. You watch drafts all week, and then you can draft on Saturday night. So there you go. I want to thank Darren Armani, the FFPC, our producer and mutual friend Rob, our audio engineer, my best friend Bryce, and most of all of our viewers and listeners. I also want to thank Josh Hayes, Vince Staffolino for hopping aboard tonight. Coming up tomorrow, as I said, we are live at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. It is the ACDC draft. Joe's will feature David Martino, Gary Morgan, Shelley Fossum, Daryl Burker, Ken Orovets, and Bill and Shelley Azell. And then for the pros, we'll have the fantasy guru, John Hansen, Jared Smola from Draft Sharks, Scott Connor will be joining us too from Charles Chill FFB on the X. You follow him there for all the Dynasty and Debbie talk you could possibly want. Pat Carrain from Legendary Upside, Derek Brown from Fantasy Pros, and then, of course, Ryan Kramer, Sean Green getting a lot of run with us. They'll be drafting from the 11 spot tomorrow. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. We will be back at it tomorrow. Remember to play the FFPC at myffpc.com and the KFFSC at kffsc.com. Your week officially starts now.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com. It was broadcast live and was watched around the world. Balky and Farrell will be back next week with more analysis, more interviews, and more advice from guests much smarter than they are. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk with you again next week.
Just want to let everybody know, too, draft starts in a half hour for the Big Gorilla. Take a shot at $1 million. 2 spots left in that. We start in 32 minutes. And then the Big Gorilla Midnight Draft, still spots available in that. So check that out at myffpc.com. Thanks for watching, everybody. We're back at it for Pros vs. Joes number 5 tomorrow. See you then.